Any thoughts or questions? Yeah.
Did I misunderstand you? Did you say that all Protestants don't believe it was a virginal birth?
No, I'm not saying virginal birth. I'm saying Immaculate Conception. So Protestants don't believe.
Protestants believe those are the same thing.
So no, if you call Mary like the virginal birth, whereby Mary was a virgin her whole life and miraculously has a child without having relations with a man, some Protestants might call that an Immaculate Conception of Jesus. But we're talking about the Immaculate Conception of Mary, right? So not just when Mary gives birth to Jesus, but Mary herself is immaculate. So that'd be a difference. Yes?
Would that imply that her parents were sinless?
Not necessarily. No. The church.
Mud analogy, when Mary's walking towards the mud, he sticks his hand out and stops her. It might not be the same thing with her parents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're saying that miraculously God intervenes in the choice of the mother of Jesus. Right? Yes?
Are there books or places I can read more about this besides your YouTube channel, which looks complimentary?
Thank you. Yes, I'd say there's a, let's see, let me go back a couple. There's a book that is really good. Let me see here. This book, The Blessed Virgin in the Fathers of the First 6 Centuries. It was written in 1893, but it's like a comprehensive book. There's also Luigi Gambrero. He's a patristic scholar. I cited him at one point. And underneath Origin. Okay, I guess it's this guy, Mary and the Fathers of the Church, written in 1999. So those would be the 2 books I'd recommend. Yes?
So I was wondering, I know when I get proposed the objection of Mary needed a savior based on the verse Luke, I always tell them, like, the church does not deny that Mary needed a savior, because before all time, God decided that Mary was going to be sinless, and that was not through her own will. So in that way, when she says, "My heart rejoices in God, my Savior," He really is her personal Savior. So I don't know if you prefer that argument over the Jewish argument of the Passover, or what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are, like, yes, a lot of people will try to say Mary did need a savior, and we agree. We have to believe that Mary needed a savior. Like someone has to save her from falling into the mud in the beginning. But to say that Mary is thinking that when she's saying the Magnificat, like, God my Savior, in what way is she calling God her Savior? I think it would make more sense to say that any Jew in that period who really internalized the Old Testament, who saw God as intervening in salvific ways, that they would call God my Savior, right? Just as how in the Jewish Passover, you believed that you were there with the Passover in Egypt, centuries before, like you believed you were there. Like, same type of idea, like my Passover, my Savior, that type of thing. Yes?
Besides the pushback that Protestants often give with regards to Mary, what is the biggest pushbacks Catholic communities have given against this?
Some pushbacks would be that they didn't want Protestants to feel more alienated from Catholicism by making this statement, that Mary was immaculately conceived. That's one that I know of. There might be more if you read more of the debates surrounding it, like John Henry Newman, who's around during that time period in the 1850s. So you could hear from him the different debates going on for, like, is this the right time to present this new Marian doctrine? Even though it's not like new, but the language to explicate it is new language. All right. Yes?
This is a kind of a sidebar to this. At the Annunciation, which is visited by the angel, this took place, I think, in Nazareth. And small house in Loreto, Italy. They have a shrine where this house was miraculously moved there. Is that important, and what's that all about?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily directly related to the Immaculate Conception of Mary. However, it is a cool relic that you are free to believe or disbelieve in. I've been there, so this was 2 years ago. You have two? Yeah, so I was there 2 years ago. So there's a house in Loreto, Italy, that the story basically is, this was a small village at the time. I can't remember if it was 100 years ago or a couple hundred years, maybe it was 1,000, I don't know. Basically, all the villagers just saw this house in the city one day. And they're like, Joe, where'd that come from? I don't know. Billy, where'd that come from? I don't know. Where'd the house come from? I don't know. Well, that's odd. So the people are just like, I don't know where this house came from. It just appears here. And then when different scientists come and they tried to test the house, because the house is made differently than all the other houses, and no one saw anyone come in or out of the city with this house. They said that the wood came from Jerusalem or Nazareth or just Israel location. And then I think there's more to the story about maybe some mystic who saw angels transported this house over so that people in the West could see Mary's home where she lived in. So yeah, that's a relic that could be true or false and free to believe or disbelieve in, but very, very fascinating. Yes?
I remember from my youth, there was a magazine out called This Rock.
Mm-hmm.
It regularly had articles began on the subject of talking back and forth. And there were arguments back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
That would go on sometimes for months. We started out with 2 sentences and then they were answering in paragraphs or pages.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, so many of these people that you mentioned, those that developed and fervent statements about Mary, were presented. So with the internet today, we can look up apologetics subjects and really go deeply into exactly what you said.
Yep.
And I like my favorite argument, I even thought of it clearly years ago, was that God doesn't go in any merger than he dirt and sin. You blame to Mary and she's naked.
Yep.
That was easy for me to understand.
Yep.
You received it.
Yep, you got it. Yes, I appreciate the statement. All right, all done? All right, that's a wrap.